Week 1 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few wide receivers I have as sleeper options this week. The first guy, Marvin Jones Jr., the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Jaguars, they've improved their offense a little bit here in the off-season. Getting Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, and now Marvin Jones, who was there last year. He had a decent season in his first year in Jacksonville, 73 catches, 832 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. Has a good matchup versus the Washington Commanders. And Trevor Lawrence this season, I think he's going to improve. He can't get any worse than he was last season. And now with more weapons, with the field more open, I think Marvin Jones in this one could be a decent sleeper option. And we've seen some decent games out of him last season as well. I know he's not going to be that consistent, but a matchup-based type of deal here, I think Marvin Jones will be good, and this Washington Commander defense just isn't good in the secondary here. So right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Marvin Jones in PPR leagues could have 6 or 7 catches in this one with 60 or 70 yards and possibly find the end zone. And if you're in a pinch at a flex position or you need someone in a deeper league for whatever reason, I think Marvin Jones is a decent sleeper option this week. The next guy is DeVante Parker of the New England Patriots. DeVante Parker traded from the Miami Dolphins to the Pats in the offseason, and right here he's going to verse the Miami Dolphins opening day. So what a thing. We've seen a lot of guys who got traded in the offseason opening day versus their former team, and you know Parker's going to want to stick it to the Dolphins. Yeah, the Dolphins for years had Parker on the trade block and nothing came to fruition, but it finally did, and I don't know why they traded him within the division. But anyway, DeVante Parker, when he plays, he's a talented receiver, no doubt about it. But injuries have been a major part of him not performing and putting up huge fantasy numbers over the last few seasons. But I think it's an upgrade going from Tua for him to Mac Jones, even though Mac Jones is still a young quarterback, and he's not a consistent thrower of the football as well. We know New England's built on running and defense here, but DeVante Parker, you know he wants to stick it to his former team. We know he's a pretty good playmaker when healthy, and I think in this one he could have a good ball game versus his former team. And right now I'm surprised he's only owned in 53% of fantasy leagues. I think as a wide receiver for a good piece, he's a decent guy, and I think this week is a sleeper versus former team. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 5 catches, 60 yards in this one, and possibly a touchdown. And the third and final wide receiver I have as a sleeper this week is Julio Jones of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Julio Jones, the last few seasons, has just been a train wreck here for him with injuries and not performing and putting up numbers, when a few years ago he was a top pick in most fantasy drafts. But now bouncing around from the Falcons to Tennessee, who cut him, and now going to play with Tom Brady in Tampa, I think he's going to get things going as Julio. I think he's going to play a similar role like we saw Antonio Brown play last season, where he's not a starter, but he's a guy that's going to get a lot of reps. He's going to get a lot of targets if he stays healthy. And right here, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are going to get all the attention in this offense. So Julio Jones could play a big factor as a number 3 wide receiver over here in Tampa. And he's got a great matchup versus the Dallas Cowboys, a team that he's owned throughout his career here is Julio Jones. So in this one, it wouldn't surprise me to see him get 40 or 50 yards in this one and possibly find the end zone, because this Cowboys secondary isn't good at all. They give up big plays a lot. I know Trevion Diggs was great last season, but he's still a corner that could get burned, even though I think he's going to be on Mike Evans anyway in this ball game. But Julio Jones, I think as long as he's healthy and to play with Tom Brady, could still put up numbers and make plays. And I got Julio having a decent day and being a wide receiver sleeper option this week. So that's a few wide receivers I have as sleepers here for week 1 of the fantasy football season.